And by request, an abbreviated intro.
Welcome to Inside Vaping, your weekly resource for vaping news. Our show airs live right now on Tuesday nights at 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Standard Time. That is via YouTube live event at theohmepage.com/live. The show consists of two distinct segments, this being the first hour streaming right here in front of you on YouTube. The second uncensored hour of the show airs exclusively on the Quest Vaping Network at www.vapors.tv/questvaping. You can join our chat on the home page via Kiwi IRC at HTTP, that HTTP thing. It's on the home page. Go look at it there. This is ridiculously long to look up. Joining me, as always, are my co-hosts every week. I will start with James, Uncle Dagger, Martin. James, my friend, how are you?
The directions are reversed. I'm doing pretty good. Actually, they don't have to use the Kiwi IRC chat link anymore because Understudy informed me that they do have the actual chat working via the live page. So hopefully that's working for everybody. Hopefully.
Good.
I'm going there now.
Because that's a mouthful to get out that link.
Yes, indeed it is. And we are going to get to introductions, but first we've got a very important announcement. CASAA actually posted this on December 9th, so it's been around for a little bit, but this is an extremely important step that you can take here. They have a call to action. Ask your legislators to support a change to the Tobacco Control Act. Just to give you some detail, this proposed change would change the grandfather date and have a very beneficial impact to the community as a whole. So, the grandfather date as it's set currently by the Tobacco Control Act is February 15th, 2007 for new tobacco products. So this change would result in tens of thousands of e-cigarette products not being summarily removed from the market. So we believe this presents a huge opportunity for consumers. What they are trying to do is get this grandfather date changed. Basically, it should be changed to April 25th, 2014, which is the day that the FDA's proposed regulations were submitted. So basically, it would grandfather all of those e-cigarette products in. And it would be very, very beneficial. Now, CASAA made it very easy for us to actually fill out this form. And did we already crash? Because I can't change my screen right now.
We look like we're still up here.
Yeah, but I can't. I have no control over the screen. So unless we want to do an entire show of the CASAA splash screen, which I don't believe we need to do, let me go ahead and stop this and restart it.
We'll be right back.
Doggone it, man. We need like some interlude music to play during this. I heard a dog.
That's my dog.
I hear Ed beatboxing.
That's my dog. And
are we back? Are we back yet? How about now?
Sibilance. And we're back. Are we back?
I think we're back.
Yes, we are. We are back now.
Excellent.
Welcome back. It wouldn't be an episode of Inside Vaping without technical difficulty. So we thank you for your patience.
Yes, I think I'm going to just punt XSplit to the curb at this point because
that's a good
seems
idea.
To be more problems than it's worth. Okay, so basically what we would like you to do is go over to the CASAA website. We're going to put the link in the description of the show, and CASAA has made it extremely simple to send these letters to your representatives by completing a form on their website. A link to the form will be added to the broadcast, as I said, so if you go there, you can follow that link, and it will automatically send letters to your representatives. And they also want you to thank the people that are instrumental in trying to get this moved in front of the FDA. which are Representative John Boehner, House Speaker, Representative Kevin McCarthy, House Majority Leader, and Fred Upton, Chairman in the House of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. So this is very important. Again, changing that grandfather date is going to allow a plethora of products to remain on the market and not be affected by the deeming regs of the FDA. So very important point. Okay, so let's get on to the fun portion here. Happy post-holidays from all of us. I hope everybody had a great...
Happy New Year, people!
Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and all that stuff, and on to Super Bowl season.
Yes.
Yes. So fantasy
Right
football.
here in lovely Glendale, Arizona.
So how was your fantasy football season there, Dane?
I would like to start out this conversation by saying that I won the championship of my league. Yeah.
I lost. And I believe Ed lost as well. Isn't that correct?
Oh, I didn't just lose. I got the Donkey Butt Award. I came in last.
Yeah, we call that the toilet bowl division in my league.
The toilet bowl division?
The toilet bowl division.
I've never heard it referred to that before.
Yeah,
You know, I am glad I didn't come in second. You know why?
Why?
Because you're the first loser.
Oh, man, that's harsh.
Yeah, but you probably got a payout at second at least if you come in
That's
second.
true. That's true.
Oh, we didn't play for money.
Oh.
No.
Yeah,
So,
our league consumed of couples. So it was me and my wife and other couples. So it was fun league.
Yeah, see, I could never do that. I would... my wife... Did you both manage the same team?
No.
No, they had their
You
own
played
teams.
against each other. Yeah, see,
Yeah.
I don't know. That
So
would
it's kind of
still
one of
be
those
rough.
things where my wife's not really into football, and a couple other they weren't into football, so it was something that we could do together. So it was fun.
Kazar in chat wants to know, Ed, was your first pick Adrian Peterson like my last place team?
It was.
I had first pick, and I picked his sorry butt. Yeah.
All right, so
That was
we,
a wasted pick.
we had a nice long holiday. I work at a school, and we actually had 10 days off. It was very nice. It just happened to be the way the dates landed. But Dane and I have discovered this stupid little web-based 8-ball game.
It's true. It's true.
It's horribly
We've wasted
addictive.
it. Is. We have wasted a boatload of time with it, too.
I really don't want to say this because they got me hooked on it yesterday. But it actually works pretty well on the phone all day today.
Hopefully his boss isn't watching right now.
Yeah, I noticed my notifications are going off, and I've always got all these little 8-ball notifications going off on my phone during the day, draining battery
I
life.
disabled them.
Well, these were my observations from our limited pool tournament. Well, James and I is not limited, but James, Ed, and I is limited. We have learned a couple of very important points when playing pool. Number one, James is really easily distracted. So if you ever play in pool, he's really easily distracted.
Yeah,
Ed
you
was
get him
making me
laughing.
laugh.
Yeah.
And we also learned that Ed grunts when he shoots. I don't
I
think he
didn't wanna know
realizes
that.
that, but he does. He grunts
I
when he shoots.
Maybe I
I don't
did
know.
that in real life.
That's what I was worried about.
And I scratch every
Grunting when you're
shot.
shooting.
Scratch
I-
your butt.
I do. I scratch every shot. I do. Every shot I scratch. And I also make fun of James every chance I get.
Look at
So-
this. This is the smallest syringe that I have in front of me right now, and I need to fill
Jeez.
this little 2.5 mil tank.
What are you, a veterinarian?
I don't know. It's a 35 mil syringe.
So while you fill your tank there, James,
Yeah.
what did you get for Christmas?
I
He
got.
did-
I got my comb, which I don't have with me because it's in the bathroom, from Ed, and I also got some nice vape gear. One of the things here, this is the Steel Punk Copper Slug, which is an upgraded version. They do have one issue with it, which is that this plug, it fits in there, but the center pin is a little bit too long, so I'm going to have to make a modification to it. But really beautiful mod. Works really, really well. So I'm excited about that. And then I got some vape mail this week.
We've got a thing going on YouTube here. I'm not sure if it's going on anywhere else, but our intro video keeps playing. Is it on a loop? And it's starting over or something?
No, it's normally just one. It should play through once.
Okay. Well, I'm seeing it. Yeah, I'm seeing it more than once. It may just be me, but over on YouTube, it's been on twice now.
Well, we should probably refresh and make sure it's not still happening.
Well, I don't. Wait, is it just the sound or the actual video?
It says, all right, all fine on his end. All right, well, so, okay, apparently we're okay. For me, it is not, though. Let me refresh it. You know,
all right.
Maybe that'll be the issue there. No.
All right, so while we're doing that, Dane, anything for Xmas?
Yeah. I got from Ed the Green a mantis that lights up. I love my mantis. I have been, for those that don't know, I have been nagging Ed for quite a long time to start making mantises again, to the point where I couldn't even get the sentence out before I would hear the words "shut up." And then, lo and behold, it does sound obscene. Lo and behold, one day in my mailbox, there it is. It's a mantis. A mantis. What else did I get for Christmas? I got Apple TV, which is outstanding. So now everything is all integrated in my house. Is that a Christmas memories jingle there? Is that what?
No, that was a harp because you got your mantis and everything's all better now.
It's magical. The mantis was my unicorn. I can happily and proudly say that I own every smoke-free mod made.
Oh, yeah.
And that was the one that I was missing. And I wanted to round that out. And Ed very graciously and kindly sent me one, which was very nice of you. And thank you again. I absolutely love it. And it's an incredible little device, which I absolutely love.
Yes, Ed is a great guy.
Yes.
He is.
So, for myself, I got more dragons. My little toothless dragons.
And you got your ink finished.
Yeah. And my girls got me the alpha version, which is like that big. It's really cool. And then I got my tattoo finished, which is whoa.
Don't
right about there.
Oh, I bet that hurt by that armpit there.
No, it didn't. Actually, it wasn't that bad at all. So yeah, my tattoo is complete.
Very nice.
I'm sad to say I didn't receive jack crap from James or Dane.
I'm working on it.
Didn't get a freaking card.
It's because I don't send out cards. My wife does.
But Vapeways, my buddy Jerry gave me a little 50 watt SX, whatever you want to call it, and he gave me a Kanger sub tank.
Ooh.
And how are you liking the sub tank? I got one this week too.
I really like it. It is because I loved the Pro Tank.
Mm-hmm.
You just had to rebuild those tiny little heads.
Right.
Which you're very good at, by the way.
Yes. I loved my K-Fun because you could rebuild it. The only disadvantage is that when it's full of e-liquid, it's a little tough to... You get a burnt taste, you want to change your wick out, you can't.
It's true.
Because sub-tank, you flip it upside down, you let the juice come on down, you just unscrew it, and all the liquid stays inside.
Easy to fill. Yep.
Easy to fill, but not only that, but also easy to re-wick with a half a tank of liquid.
That's pretty good.
Recommended to take it off your device and let it sit upside down for a few minutes, let all the juice drain down to the bottom.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like it. I really do like it.
Yeah, see, I've been using the billow almost exclusively, and I got the nano tank in, and the nano tank really makes it look a lot nicer. It reduces the capacity, of course, but it just looks a lot more proportional on most devices. So it looks pretty nice on the copper slug too.
That thing is so shiny, I gotta wear sunglasses. That copper is way too shiny.
I think I actually like that being shorter for the, because that's more of a lung inhale on a billow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So for me, I'd want to change that flavor up more often. This is a grab and go. I mean, you fill it up, you got to worry about filling this thing back up again.
How
It's
many
my
mils
kind
does
of
it hold?
tank.
I'm sorry?
How many mils does it hold?
I want to say 4.
Okay.
With it'll hold with the rebuildable section in there. If you
Yeah.
leave the section in there where you actually replace the heads, you can get more e-liquid in because that section is a little bit lower. So I think you get an extra mil or so.
Yeah. Yeah,
One of
that's
these
not
days.
bad.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So the first item that we want to talk about here is, of course, the eLeaf iStick 50 watt. Now, I believe they came out with a 30 watt or 35. Was it 35? They have the mini, and then they
I thought
have
it was
the
a 30.
iStick 35 or 30.
Is that a 35?
Actually, I think I've got the website right here, so I'm going to go ahead and try to transition over to this and see what they have here. So, atomizer, let's see, battery. Yeah, iStick 30, mini iStick, and the new iStick 50. Now, this is intriguing for a couple of reasons here. The things that kind of stood out to me are the fact that it has, size-wise, it's 23 millimeters, which is ideal, especially when you consider most of our atomizers are 22 millimeters. 45 millimeters in height, or 45 millimeters in width, and then 83 millimeters in height. And then if you look at the capacity, 4,400 mAh. So this thing has got a decent amount of battery life considering the size. I don't know, Dane, you were kind of curious about the button placement, weren't you?
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that button on the side right there
Yeah.
like that.
I'd have to hold one in my hand, but I do like the fact that now the rated resistance range 0.2 to 5 ohms, so that's a very nice range of resistances that this will run. And realistically, because of the size and the fact that it'll do 50 watts, it looks like a great device. Now, temperature.
Question.
Go ahead.
Question for you. Do you know what wattage setting? Because like the old one was in the mean setting, where
Right.
if you're dipping at like 10 watts, it's actually like 12 to 13.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does it say it's in the RMS or at all anywhere?
there's no clarification on the website, at least, for that.
So we'll have to keep an eye out for Mr. Phil Busardo when he gets one in and does a video.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm sure he'll get one right away here. But one thing I did notice is that they relocated the USB charging port. It's not on the bottom anymore. It is on the side. So I guess if you want to use it, you want to stand it up in your cup holder or use it at home while it's charging. I guess you could use it there. Or, it's a little bit better design there.
They just can't get it right. So before it was at the bottom, so you had to lay the device on its side.
Now it's at the
top. So
Yeah.
now you have a chance of turning the thing over.
You put a big, heavy, braided USB cable on that and watch it fall over. So this was pretty interesting. At first, I thought this had temperature protection, and I'm like, okay, DNA 40, what is this doing? But it flashes on the screen temperature protection, but in reality, it's just protecting the circuit from overheating. So I'm not saying that's hokey, because it's a good feature, and of course DNA chips have been doing that for years, and there's other chipsets that do it, but I don't know. And I believe the price is going to be around $50. So again, price-wise, they're doing pretty good. I got to say, most of the eLeaf products are pretty reasonably priced. Don't you think so?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're priced really good. And like I said, I think I agree with Dane. I don't know about that button placement being on the side. I don't really dig the atomizer all the way off to one side on the device. I just like it being in the middle.
Center,
You know,
yeah.
that whole OCD thing where you want everything lined up.
Speaking of OCD, I got the Griffin box. Okay, this is the mod, which is a collaboration, I believe, between a gentleman in the U.S. and a guy in Australia. And I love the chip. Okay, I really like it. It's got an Arduino chip and a Raptor in it, so it does some pretty neat stuff. The guys on Plumes have talked about it quite a bit at length. I love the fact that you have a boost mode in it where you can set your duration. That really helps with some of the thicker cable builds, thicker gauge wire builds. But I'm OCD about the lean, and this thing has a mean lean on it. It's got a gangster lean whenever you put an atomizer on it. So let me just throw an Addy on top of this. I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's a Hammond box. So, you know, your Hammond boxes have a little bit of a cant to the top and bottom.
Tip that back towards you a little bit.
Back towards me?
Yeah, tip it back towards your nose.
Okay.
Oh, too far.
What are you trying to do?
Yeah, right. Yeah, because the way you were holding it, you really couldn't see the...
Okay, you couldn't see the lean? Yeah.
Yeah, you can't see it, but
if I hold it straight, you can kind of see. You can't see it from the side. But the reason I say that is because I've got...
There you go.
This is a Mamu box. This is a Raptor also. But
who cut off part of your atomizer? Where's the rest of your atomizer at?
That's a Derringer, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have already seen, but
it's
a great Addy. We'll get to that. But
okay.
Yeah, the connector on the Mamu box, she actually took it and filed it down on one side so it sits straight. And I was talking to you about this yesterday, Ed, and I'd really like to get this box modified so that all the sides are square, which I think is what we're planning on doing at this point. Is we're going to chop off the sides just a little bit or square them off. But other than that, it's a great device. It's a really solid device. I like it quite a bit. I'm not crazy about Hammond boxes, that being said.
Me neither. I'm tired of seeing this new device coming out, and then I see it, and it's another Hammond box.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess
Hyena Boy in chat said all you have to do is sand them down to level. So that's what I think I'll probably end up doing with this one.
Yeah, I think that's just one of my things that I just want to make my own enclosures.
Yeah.
Or at least find an enclosure out there somewhere. Like the other night, I spent a couple hours on Alibaba and I'm not really big on buying electronic devices from there, but my whole goal is to get them and rip the electronics out and put in good electronics.
Yeah, and Mike Getz in chat made a good point too. He says people need to just stop using Hammonds. I realize they're inexpensive and they're pre-made. I get that. But the problem that I see is you have very few options in the middle. You either have high-end stabilized wood, insanely priced regulated mods, or you have Hammond boxes. I mean, there's got to be something in the middle, really. And I'd love to see it without going with like a clone of a previous design, if possible.
And Mike is right. I've spent hours upon hours scouring the internet for just enclosures, boxes, hobby, any kind of keyword I can punch in, and there's so little out there that we could use.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are options, definitely. So let's go ahead and move on here to this first story, Dane.
Yes, sir. Some bad news in your neck of the woods. There's a proposed bill that would tax and include e-cigarettes in the same smoking ban as traditional tobacco in the lovely state of Indiana. Greg Zeller, Indiana's Attorney General, said it's time for our state to act instead of waiting for federal legislation. We all refuse to stand by as a new generation gets hooked on nicotine. Yeah, here we go again. Zeller said the main reason for the increased regulations is an effort to keep e-cigs out of the hands of youth. In 2014, he said, more teens smoked e-cigarettes than traditional combustible cigarettes. There are a couple of people that are authoring this bill in Indiana. State Representative Charlie Brown. I cannot make that up. I thought that was a joke at first. I did. He's the co-author, though. Charlie Brown. You're a good man,
He's always
Charlie
so
Brown.
sad.
He is.
Poor
State
Charlie
Senator
Brown.
Patricia Miller also will sponsor the legislation in the Senate. Rather than watch idly as the federal government fails to protect consumers and protect our youth against access to nicotine and other drugs, it's the goal of attorneys general to get out ahead of this and lead until the federal government steps up and does their job, Zeller said in a press conference this past Friday. The proposed bill would have four main parts. It will require places that sell e-cigs to be licensed like tobacco shops are now. Zeller said that would give the state more authority to enforce the law. The bill would also tax e-cig like tobacco products, which is 24% of what the wholesale price is. The idea is that youth won't want to buy them if they cost more. It also include e-cigarettes in the statewide smoking ban and require e-liquid containers to be sold in child-resistant packaging. That's pretty common everywhere. It's already illegal to sell e-cigs to minors in Indiana, but Zeller said more regulation is needed to enforce that. You know, gentlemen, time and time again, we've seen this happening at the state level. It's the same mindset as other major cities in its thinking that they'll legislate ahead of the FDA and institute strict regulations and taxes on e-cigs before they're ruled upon by the federal government. You know, James, these truly are the battles, in my opinion, that need more attention brought to them, along with more resources to combat these things.
Yeah, you know, when you made me aware of this story, I was actually at a vape shop in Northwest Indiana, Vape All Day over in St. John, which is a great shop. You know, I love going in there and talking to those guys, and that's actually where I got my sub-tank. The thing that bothers me about all of these stories is basically always the same. It is they're talking about their appeal to youth, and they're using that as a major reason for you know, punitive taxes, sweeping changes to the way advertising is done. But if you look at that article from Wayne.com, which is where we pulled the information from, they always mention the same things. They talk about, you know, its appeal to youth. They talk about reports of e-cigarettes being used to inhale liquid THC. And that's an important distinction to make, folks. I mean, despite how you might feel about the legalization of marijuana, now is not the time to band together. And I sincerely believe that.
Right.
There needs to be a delineation of product right now, especially during this time period, because these things are under very close scrutiny. Yeah, and after reading this press release earlier this week, I got an instant case of heartburn. Come to think of it, it might have been caused by spicy food, though.
Yeah, I hear you. But, you know, burning cornhole's not a good way to start out the day. It really isn't.
Burning cornhole. I said I had heartburn, not burning cornhole there, Scratchy. By the way, we call Dane Scratchy because of 8-Ball Pool, because he likes to scratch shot quite frequently, sometimes without reason. But I will say this. I will say this, Dane. I have actually pooped garnish before.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it was.
What variety of garnish was that?
It was actually a fully formed stalk of cilantro with several leaves on it. Yeah, and I know that's incredibly gross, but at the same time, I had to look back and I had a sense of accomplishment, like you know, life
One
was suddenly
drunken
worth
night.
living.
When Uncle Dagger was eating plastic plants at Hobby Lobby.
I got mine from Mexican food. It was bad. It was really bad. I would have appreciated a little ointment from my co-host. I could have used it. It was pretty
I'll
bad.
make sure I send you some Tux medicated pads.
Perfect. I won't get the piles then. I'll be good.
Oh man.
So we haven't even talked about vape mail. Did anyone get new vape mail and new vape stuff this week? Anyone?
What about you?
Tomorrow.
Ed's getting his tomorrow.
I got a DHL notification.
Oh, he's getting something from China if it's DHL.
Yes.
That fast tech.
And Groach. No, I have not used the stock Kanger sub-tank coil.
And I have. I used it specifically because I was trying to compare it to Atlantis, and I do prefer the flavor off the sub-tank with the stock coil.
I picked up some new e-liquid this week.
You did?
I did.
Not Water Dragon?
No. James gives me crap about this all the time. I'm very predictable in what I vape. Ed knows this. Ed knows my flavor profile, and I rarely stray beyond it. And I haven't here either. So, I mean, it's new. It's made by Mastermind. I'll hold it up to the screen so people can see it. It's made by Mastermind. It is snake oil, which is a watermelon menthol, which is actually quite delicious. It is very, very good. And then I picked up an old standby, little A-Train from Blueprint, which I really like, which is a pineapple vape, which I am a huge fan of.
He loves his pineapple.
Love that pineapple.
Yeah, see, I can't vape pineapple because it smells like stinky feet.
But yet,
if I want stinky feet, I just put on a pair of wet socks.
This coming from a man who poops cilantro. I know. I know.
Oh, man. Okay, so what have we got as far as... obviously, I got some vape mail. I got those nano tanks for the billow. I got the Derringer Atty. Look at this thing. I mean, it's incredibly sexy, this little tiny atomizer. Really nice deck design. We're going to take a look at that down at the desk in a couple minutes here. And, of course, I have the slug, the copper slug, which, since this is a limited run, it came with a leather sheath to hold it in here. So a nice little belt sheath.
And it's like a pistola.
They fixed some of the issues, some of the complaints that people had about this being too loose and wobbly. This screw to lock the switch now takes only a couple turns to get it to activate, and it tightens up right in and works great. So very happy with that purchase.
I dated a girl like that once. Loose and wobbly.
Loose and wobbly?
With a fake
nice
leg.
And tight. Oh, man. It's not even the after show yet. Okay, so what is our next story here, Dane?
This was a big one for me, since from my former state of residence, Illinois, good old dirty Dick Durbin. Legislators, meaning Dick Durbin, say e-cigarette companies are bound by an agreement reached before they existed. This article to me was profoundly interesting, and I read it over a number of times. 16 years ago, the leading tobacco companies resolved state lawsuits against them through a master settlement agreement that included restrictions on advertising promotion, as well as payments totaling more than $200 billion over 25 years. Now, last week, 3 members of Congress, led by Senator Dick Durbin, Representative Henry Waxman, and Frank Pallone of New Jersey, argued that the agreement should be retroactively revised to cover e-cigs, which were not marketed in the United States until 2007. You may wonder exactly how would that work? It's a question to which the 3 legislators, all of whom have law degrees, evidently devoted no thought whatsoever. In a letter to the 29 states' attorneys general, who last August urged the FDA to severely restrict e-cigarette advertising and marketing, Durbin et al. Suggested classifying e-cigarettes as cigarettes under the Master Settlement Agreement, which they claim would stop the e-cigarette makers from marketing their product in ways that are appealing to kids. This proposal has at least 2 fatal flaws, which may explain why the attorneys general have never attempted it, even though the idea has been floated before. First, as Michael Siegel notes on his tobacco policy blog, The agreement defines a cigarette, in part, as a product that contains tobacco. Here's the big one, folks. E-cigarettes do not contain tobacco. Durbin, along with the other senators, argue that they sort of do because their key ingredient is nicotine, which is produced from tobacco leaves. By the same logic, THC is marijuana, quinine is cinchona bark, electricity is coal, milk is a cow, and maple syrup is a tree. But never mind that. The other crucial problem that Durbin and the other senators seem to have overlooked is that the Master Settlement Agreement is, as the name implies, an agreement, meaning it is binding only to the parties that signed it. The MSA cannot possibly be applied to companies that only did not agree to it, but did not exist when it was drawn up. You know, fellas, another slick political end-around by Dirty Dick in the Senate, trying to manipulate an already concise agreement to support his and the government's financial needs. I'd like to remind Dirty Dick Durbin that hemp fabric is also made of the same marijuana plant, and lumping it into this agreement is just as ridiculous as the analogies he made in this story.
Dirty Dick in the Senate sounds like a bad grunge band to me.
Or a bad porn movie.
Or a good
That one's even scarier. So let me give you some facts about Dick Durbin too, because I'm a pro Second Amendment type of person, and aside from that, okay, Dick Durbin has been an Illinois senator since 1997 as the Democratic Senate Majority Whip. Now that may not sound familiar to you. That is the second highest position in the Democratic Party leadership. Some of you may have watched the show House of Cards. Kevin Spacey's character held the same position in the first few seasons of the show. And it's a position with a lot of power. It's a position where he has a lot of influence over other senators. Senator Durbin has a history of inflexibility when it comes to issues like this. And he's got a lot of clout in that current position. Bottom line is, anytime his name is attached to a proposal, it's not something to be taken lightly at all. So this could be, I'm not going to say ruinous, because I don't believe it's that restrictive. I mean, some of the things that they're trying to do, they're going to happen eventually. Like the taxation of e-liquid, it's going to happen. Hopefully it's not punitive. This retroactive thing, now that's scary,
Yeah, it is. The manipulation of dates and numbers is really the most alarming thing to me here. The 24% of wholesale that Indiana proposes is actually one of the lowest numbers I've seen.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it for that story. We got a story from Forbes here, and I believe Ed is going to handle that. And also, my XSplit froze up again, but if the stream looks okay, I'm just going to roll with it. And we'll just stay on the screen.
beam footage.
Roll that beautiful beam footage.
E-Cigs, a lifesaver that health fascists want to kill. This comes from Forbes.com. Time and time again, technology has come along to help solve some big problems or blast away. Oh crap! Is that word? Sclerotic. I screwed it up. I butchered that word. Anti-progress government rules and restrictions. Think Uber and local taxi cartels, or decades ago, how the invention of money funds unpended Depression-era diktats. That's another fun word. That forced individuals to receive below-market interest rates on their deposits. One breakthrough that gets absolutely no respect. In fact, it's aroused intense hostility from people who should know better, is the invention of e-cigarettes. These battery-powered vaporizers contain nicotine that give users the feeling that they are smoking. But the beauty of them is that there is no smoke involved. No smoke is going into anyone's lungs. Instead of celebrating this fantastic turn of events, public officials are proclaiming a crisis because of the growing use of e-cigs by teens. Tim Morstall, a Forbes.com contributor, gleefully quotes One such nincompoop from the government reporting, noting the plunge in teenage smoking. Quote, despite the positive developments this year about less teenage smoking, we are concerned about the levels of e-cigarette use among teens that we are seeing, said Dr. Lloyd D. Johnson, PhD, Principal Investigator, Institute of Social Research, the University of Michigan. It would be a tragedy if this product undid some of the great progress made to date by reducing cigarette smoking by teens. James, what do you think about that?
My takeaway here is, why can't these idiots understand the difference between smoking and vaping? You're talking about two entirely different things. They continue to lump the use of e-cigs with that of a combustible product. We're not burning anything. I mentioned this before, and I'll say it again. Teens are going to experiment with things. They are going to go through phases and be rebellious and contrary and generally divisive at times. Now, I don't have any kids, but if I did, I would be genuinely relieved if I found out they chose a reduced harm alternative to combustible coffin nails. Now, as an industry, we're duty bound to discourage underage vaping as an industry. But as parents of teens in those angstful years, it's a brighter alternative to them using analog. So, it's kind of a conundrum. I mean, from an industry, it's clear cut. You have to make sure that you're not selling to somebody who's underage. Right. Because to do so is going to be disastrous to us, especially at this juncture. Dane, your thoughts?
Yeah, and that's exactly true. I cannot see anyone in their right mind as a parent, when given the choice between an electronic cigarette and combustible tobacco, why they wouldn't say, look, I'm not crazy about you doing this, but if you're going to do this, and eventually stop, because let's face it, teens shouldn't get started on nicotine at all. If it's at all possible, don't. Abstinence isn't always going to be the case, though, and we know how that goes from our own experiences. You would much rather your child take the lower harm alternative to vaping, and for anybody to lean on this old tired story again and again and again. Not only is it just beyond redundancy and stupid, it's just idiotic. If you have nothing else new to bring to the table, then shut up. And that's enough of it. You made your point, shut up.
But they can't, because it works.
Yeah. But isn't it surprising that they choose to largely ignore the fact that teen smoking is down? I mean,
right, exactly.
They mention it, but that's as far as it goes. There's always that but there. Teen
Never the
smoking is
contributing
down,
factors to that lowering number, which is probably e-cigs. Yeah, forget that that's a revolutionary device that's helping a lot of people quit. Yeah, it's a ridiculous argument that they make time and time again. It really is crazy.
And I truly would love to know of how many of kids that don't smoke or haven't tried smoking in the past 5-6 years. Is it because of e-cigs? Are they picking it up instead?
Right.
Yeah, probably. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know about 5 years, because I don't think it really entered the mainstream social consciousness until probably 2013, the beginning of 2013, I would think.
Right. I would say that's a pretty fair estimate as well. I'd say probably the beginning of that year, and it started, to trickle into the teen vocabulary.
That's true. Prior to that, most anything you could buy at a convenience store or whatnot, it was more of a tobacco flavor, and they really didn't taste all that good.
Right, and cigalikes were the norm until the open container market started.
So I'm going to attempt to show the Derringer Atty here. This is my completely janky stand for my webcam, so you can see how I do this here. Because we now have no screen region control. I can't make it full screen, so you're going to have to be satisfied with the tiny screen there. And I'll go ahead and make a little quick changeroo here.
Down to the bench.
Down to the bench.
By the way, I meant to mention earlier, is that a new fender you have leaning against the wall back there?
That is an old fender.
It's a very nice old telly there, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always wanted to learn how to play the guitar, and I'm an avid collector, so I have several guitars that I do not know how to play, which is also a travesty.
But it sure looks pretty on that wall, Cigar. I'll let them in on the joke, too.
Okay.
When James gets himself into a predicament in 8-ball pool, usually with an unshootable ball or something like that that's trapped behind another ball, he'll run the rest of the table, and I'll continuously say over and over and over again, you still got to get over that wall, Cigar. And it annoys him to no end, to the point where he goes, I am going to punch you right now. And then he
wanted to punch you.
That's right. Everyone did. All right. So this is the Derringer. You can see how tiny it is. I don't have a penny in my pocket right now, but it's actually shorter than a penny if you hold a penny up sideways to it. And I'll go ahead and show the deck, although I'm sure some of you have seen pictures online. Very impressed with the performance. The engraving is nice and neat. It was very clean when I got it. I'm used to actually... That's not a penny yet.
There's up to a quarter. There you go.
So, tiny chamber. I thought, due to the proximity of the drip tip to these coils, that I would get tons and tons of spit back from this atomizer. And that's what I experienced when I was using the Hobo Addy. The Hobo has really a bad problem with spit back, in my opinion. It's a nice atomizer, but it's short, and whenever you... I think that has more to do with these top air holes than anything else, because when I close them off, it's not as bad. But anyway, back to this. So there's the deck. Of course, you do have this raised edge. This is your airflow ring, and you have options for dual coils and also a single coil option. These holes correspond with slots in the deck, and you can adjust the airflow to your liking. Now this comes off. This is a removable ring with all your air holes, so you can position it in case you don't go with center post builds. This is a really sloppy build, but it works pretty well, and I'm happy with it. And I'm surprised by how much juice this actually holds, and it doesn't leak as readily as I thought it would. I mean, Dane, you see how small this thing is. I figured that there would be juice pouring out of the...
and I think I asked you that too when I first saw it. I said, God, doesn't that leak out the side when you fill it? Doesn't look like it holds very much.
Yeah, and I over-dripped a little bit. I got some residual juice on this outer ring here. I'm going to wipe that off. But again, no problem with leaking during daily use here. And I'll go ahead and bring the camera up top and show you some plumes.
That's a good looking little atomizer. I like the form factor of that. I like that it's small and that it can be used on the smaller devices that you can carry in your pocket as well. I think that's pretty cool.
It looks good on a box mod, but it also looks good on on the XXIX that I've got here. This is an 18650 mod, which is pretty short, and it looks great on that. It almost makes it,
So
holdable
stealthy.
in a pump. Stealthy, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. So just to give you some vapor production, gratuitous cloud shots.
Cloud chaser.
And this isn't a crazy build. This is a 0.35 at 4.2 volts. Yeah, 4.3 volts.
You gotta do the finger snap.
Finger snap. Airflow wise, I would compare it to a Tobe 2.5. Actually, it's airier than a Tobe 2.5. But it's not going to be as wide open as something like a Mutation X. Ed, I know you've got one of those. That is probably one of the airiest drippers that I've used. And I used one over the weekend at the local vape meet, and I actually found if I closed it down to 3 I think it's 3 air holes or 3 rows of air holes, whatever it is, because I know it has an insane number. That I got the best flavor out of it then. But this has really good flavor. Again, you're so close to the coil that you're getting nice heat off of a moderate build with great flavor, at least in my opinion. And Sean, understudy, and I talked about this a little bit before the show. And, he has a little bit different opinion than I do on this. But for me, I know he likes a really tight draw. So it may come down to the way we vape. But for me, even wide open, I'm getting very, very good flavor out of it and great performance.
Yeah, I'm all about that tighter draw as well. I don't like it wide open like that.
Yeah, somebody asked, it is not 24 gauge. That is actually 26 gauge. It's 6 wraps per side of 26 gauge around a 3.5 millimeter drill bit. And it's working nicely. I'm pretty impressed with it. And I think they're making a bottom fed center pin so you can put this on a squawk box. And that would be a really slick setup on a squawk box. It looks
Very
good on
nice.
the slug. Pretty much everything it looks great on. I did also order a mini, let's see, it's the mini stick. So this is the micro stick. And I did a review on this a while back. They're making a 22 millimeter atomizer version that takes 18490s or 18650s, and I've got one of those coming, and I'm really excited to get that because I want to put one of these guys on it. And if you haven't used a billow before, if you're in the market for a open draw tank system that feeds extremely well, it's a great value at, I think it's like $35 right now at eCig. So really nice construction too. It uses a Pyrex, has a Pyrex tank, and now they have a nano kit for it. So all good.
Wow.
That is pretty much all I've got for this evening. I know we are going to have an after show. I don't think Ed is going to be able to join us tonight.
No, we'll miss him.
I'll be here
Yes,
next week.
Indeed.
Yeah, next week we're going to go into a little bit of detail on this new campaign started in the city of San Francisco and the state of California. It's called the CurbIt campaign. In a nutshell, what they've done is they've taken out posters. If anybody's ever ridden the subway or a bus, you know that they have those advertising signs up above near the lights. And what they've done is they put up signs talking about the evils of e-cigs and how everyone needs to be aware of how harmful they are. This, to me, was a classic example of what the future holds if we don't start showing up in force at these local and statewide legislative hearings. Things like this get passed, and these things have a budget. And as we'll show next week, it's a pretty big budget, and they're spending an awful lot of money on these to try to inform the public erroneously, obviously, of the dangers of e-cigs. We'll make a few examples, especially of some of these pictures, how ridiculously stupid they are and how ridiculously inappropriate a lot of them are. But this is what's happening now. And it's going on. It's in San Francisco, coming soon to a state near you. And I know amongst the myriad of other hosts on vaping shows out there, you've heard it over and over and over again. Ad nauseum, I get it. But it's happening. It's moving, and it's moving at an alarming rate. And it's really time to start stemming some of this. With a lot of the studies that are going on now, we'll have a lot more ammunition in the future. But
yeah, and I know we're going to cover this in detail, but I just wanted to point out down here at the bottom of the screen, and I'm sure a lot of you can't see this. Unfortunately, we can't switch to full screen. It says #ToxicVapor.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go up a little bit. It's the lower
yeah, I
third.
think it's hidden.
Toxic vapor, nice.
Yeah. So, this is really insidious, and we're gonna see more of this. It's basically smear campaigns, and it's an inevitability. And I think one of the key things that would help with this, Dane, is those studies.
Yes.
And unfortunately, to get a peer-reviewed, respected study, that's kind of a short list of people that will be impartial.
Right.
We had the whole situation with Kunigita from Japan was just deplorable. The fact that they were advertising all of these carcinogens that were generated, and again, they were dry burning coils. They didn't have any liquid in these atomizers they were testing, or the liquid had dried out. They continued to fire it. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it really is. And until we can get a serious flow of studies coming, peer-reviewed studies coming into the mainstream media, it's the best way to combat a lot of these problems, and especially on the states, on the steps of the state and federal legislatures.
You know what I would love to see, and I know this is a long shot, because how much does advertising cost during the Super Bowl?
$1 million a spot minimum.
Okay. All right. So that's not doable. But what about some other high-profile advertising on television? And
Targeted
this is what
at
I want it to be.
specific groups, right.
Kazar in the chat hit the nail on the head. So toxic that since I quit analogs, I can walk long distances now. So you get testimonials from people that have COPD, had chronic COPD, and now they're vaping. You get testimonials from these people who were addicted to cigarettes, and now they've made the switch, and now they're happy and healthier. And you put those testimonials out. It's not an ad for Blue. I wouldn't want this to be an ad. This needs to be more like a public service announcement.
Exactly.
Basically to refute some of these claims. I mean, wouldn't that be great?
We've seen the people with stomas in their necks from smoking, and the guy in underwear in Times Square. It's time to see the opposite end of the spectrum here, which is people, whose lives medically have been turned around. A good example is one of the hosts from Quest Vaping, Tim Jibba Page. Here was a guy with a very high grade of COPD whose lungs are now completely normal.
Yeah. And happy birthday, by the way, Jibba.
Yes, happy birthday, Jibba. Congratulations there, buddy.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all we have for the show tonight. Ed, did you have anything to add?
Oh, I left out the fact that we got a new washer and dryer.
You'll be a busy man over the next.
Is it a front loader?
It is not a front loader. I urge anyone out there, if you're thinking about buying a wash machine, do not buy a front loader.
I told my wife that, Ed. Thank you very much. I told her how you had to bend over to get everything out of there.
It's not only the fact of bending over. It's the fact that you have to leave the door open all the time.
Yeah.
Because when you close it and it's wet in there, what happened to us, the seal around the inside turned moldy. And you can't clean it off. And and if you left it closed and you wash a load of clothes, they don't come out smelling downy fresh. Actually, just snuggle fresh.
That's why they have a whole new section of liquids that are marketed to help eliminate front-loading washer odor.
So
more front loader musty.
So though we have a top loader, you still have to leave that open. But it's not as intrusive. It's open. It's up.
Yeah, it's out of the way.
Yeah. So don't get a front loader.
Don't get a front loader. That's words of wisdom from Ed Green. Don't get a front loader.
Don't get a front loader. Don't poop cilantro.
Yeah.
We've learned a lot.
Be careful with Mexican food and have ointment in the bathroom.
And unfortunately,
and I hope my wife is going to hear this. I'm going to get in so much trouble. And according to my mother-in-law, don't sit on cold concrete or you'll get hemorrhoids.
No, call them what she calls them.
Don't sit on cold cement or you'll get the piles.
The piles. There you go, folks.
That's
from
the best.
the bygone era. We're going to bring it back.
That. I'm bringing it back.
Hashtag piles.
Hashtag piles. That's gonna. We need to put that on the website.
All right. I think that's it for tonight. Catch us on the after show. Unfortunately, I can't provide you with a link. But if you go to the home page and you look at the main post there, you'll see a link to Quest Vaping. You can follow that.
Vapors.tv/Quest Vaping will be there momentarily.
Yeah. There is no graceful way to end the broadcast, so I'll go ahead and task it, because that's the way I have to do it now, I guess.
Have a great week, everyone. Fight the good fight. Keep vaping. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, indeed. Easy.